So breaking news, Donald Trump is being indicted again. Now, this is a different situation. This news broke, I think it was late last night when I first saw this, but more information has been developing throughout the day. They are really going after Donald Trump in reference to those documents, the classified documents that they found at Mar-a-Lago. So we are going back to that again. I want to share a little bit of information here from what they revealed on ABC News. And then I also want to call out some hypocrisy in reference to taking classified documents and what I think this is really about. Let's get into this clip here.
Council's investigation into former President Donald Trump. ABC News has confirmed at this hour that Donald Trump and his lawyers have just been informed about 20 minutes ago that the former president needs to be at a federal court in Miami on Tuesday at 3 p.m. to be processed on federal charges. This, of course, would be the first president ever to be indicted on federal charges. I want to bring in several members of our investigative team, beginning with Catherine Faulders, our senior reporter. And Catherine, what are your sources telling you as far as the number of counts at this point and the range of what's being charged here?
David, we're learning from our sources that there appears to be at least 7 counts here. This ranges from everything from the willful retention of national defense information to conspiracy, to a scheme to conceal, to false statements and representations. Obviously, this is part of a more than years-long investigation by special counsel Jack Smith and Trump's efforts to obstruct the government to give documents in his possession with classification markings back to government investigators who at multiple times throughout this investigation have tried to retrieve them from Trump. They still had questions about whether Trump still currently has classified documents in his possession. But again, we're learning that at this hour, we're told by our sources that there are at least 7 counts here, and they range from everything from willful retention of national defense information to conspiracy to concealing documents of record, David.
Catherine.
Let me just pause here for a second because I don't want people to get confused. Last time when we talked about the Trump indictment, that was in reference to his business dealings. That was the pressure that was brought on from the state of New York. So just FYI, this is a different situation. These are those classified documents that they said were at Mar-a-Lago that he took, that they said he was not supposed to take. So there's 7 counts in reference to this particular case. The previous one in reference to his business dealings, I think they came up with like over 30 something counts, but some of those counts were the same thing. It was just, they made a count for every charge that they said was a faulty charge. So I just want to make that clear because I don't want people to be confused and be like, why are we talking about this again? Different situation. So let's go back in.
Catherine Faulders, our senior investigative reporter with our investigative unit, again reporting just moments ago that Donald Trump, the former president, and his lawyers have been told to appear in a federal court in Miami next Tuesday. 3 p.m. is the time we're told, but we're still reporting this out. Catherine's reporting so far at least 7 counts. Again, our team working on this, at least 7 counts ranging from obstruction to willful retention to conspiracy, also part of the initial reporting on what could be coming from the special counsel. I want to get right to our Chief Justice correspondent, Pierre Thomas, working his sources over at the Justice Department. And Pierre, what are you learning from the people you're talking with?
Well, David, we have been told by sources who have been following the case that Trump is expected to appear on Tuesday to be processed in connection with these charges. And we've been told by multiple sources that the special counsel has specifically been focusing on efforts to illegally retain classified documents and producing evidence to show that Trump also willfully obstructed the government's efforts to get those documents back. And David, I can put this in perspective. This is perhaps one of the most consequential investigations the Justice Department has done in recent memory. We're talking about investigating a former president who's seeking to be reelected. They knew this was one of the most consequential cases that they've ever pursued, and I'm told that they have built a case month by month to produce compelling evidence to lay out in detail what Trump did in terms of taking the documents from the White House, and then what he did in response to a government subpoena to return those documents. Now,
let's just pause here for a second, because would they even be doing this right now if Donald Trump wasn't running for president again? Ask yourself that question. You have to question the timing of it. I'm one of those people, I'm one of those people that when things happen, especially something significant as this, I like to question the timing. And it just seems pretty convenient to me that it's being done now that he's running for office again. So it's almost as if we can't beat him at the ballot box, let's beat him in court. This is not to say that Trump should not be held accountable. People have to be held accountable. But it is to say the timing of this let's hold someone accountability is a little suspect, at least to me. That's how I'm looking at it. We'll go on a little bit more here, and then I have another clip I want to show you.
Also being told that law enforcement and sources will be stepping up security in and around that courthouse in Miami because they don't know quite what the response will be. But again, clearly a very consequential moment, and we'll be hearing more in the coming hours and days, David.
Pierre, just stick with me here because I know your sources are telling you multiple counts. Catherine's reporting at least 7 counts at this hour. And Pierre, as you know, these counts range from obstruction, conspiracy, willful retention of documents pertaining to the national defense. What does this tell you? It would seem it involves more than just the former president when you hear conspiracy being listed as one of these potential multiple counts here.
When you look at the case that they previously laid out in terms of the affidavit for the search warrant, in terms of why they went in, it was clear that the government had indications that there were people working with the president to perhaps move documents, hide documents. There's a key moment that we've been reporting on for some weeks, David, where apparently after receiving the subpoena, Trump and his associates knew that federal prosecutors were going to come to Mar-a-Lago. And apparently there's surveillance footage from the room where some of these documents were being held, in which someone is seen taking the documents out the day before the prosecutors were supposed to get there. And also, David, here's another key thing. Well, you know that one of the attorneys for former President Trump issued a statement provided to DOJ saying, as far as they knew, all the documents had been provided.
As far as they knew, all the documents had been provided. Now, Trump has actually responded as well. So I want to show this to you because he actually did release a video letting people know that he was being indicted by the DOJ over the classified documents. And again, I think they think that this is just actually going to hurt Donald Trump. I actually think every time they come after him with something else, it actually just makes him more popular, just like last time. Listen to this.
Very sadly, we're a nation in decline, and yet they go after a popular president, a president that got more votes than any sitting president in the history of our country, by far, and did much better the second time in the election than the first. And they go after him on a boxes hoax, just like the Russia hoax, and all of the others. It's been going on for 7 years. They can't stop because it's election interference at the highest level. There's never been anything like what's happened. I'm an innocent man. I'm an innocent person. They had the Mueller hoax, the Mueller report, and that came out. No collusion after 2.5 years. That was set up by Hillary Clinton and Democrats. But this is what they do. This is what they do so well. If they would devote their energies to honesty and integrity, would be a lot better for our country. They could do a lot better. They could do a lot of great things. But when you look at what's happened to our country in the last 3 years, we were energy independent. We had a strong military that wasn't woke. We were doing so well.
I'm sorry. Oh, man. People just throw the word around now.
Military that wasn't woke. We were doing so well. We were respected all over the world. Got the biggest tax cuts in history, biggest regulation cuts in history. And what do? You have a president where an election was taken, got more votes than any sitting president in history by far, never anything even close. And they come after me because now we're leading in the polls again by a lot, against Biden and against the Republicans by a lot. But we're leading against Biden by a lot, a tremendous amount. And we went up to a level that they figure the way they're going to stop us is by using what's called warfare. And that's what it is. This is warfare for the law. And we can't let it happen.
I just want to say something in reference to hypocrisy. What's really interesting to me is that the Democratic Party, the number of ways that they tried to come after Donald Trump, right? Whether it was Russiagate, whether it was Donald Trump cheated on his wife with Stormy Daniels and he's president of the United States. How dare he be president because he cheated on his wife? But the same Democratic Party made excuses for Bill Clinton cheating on his wife in the Oval Office with an intern. So there's that. Then they're coming after him with the classified documents. They came after him for the business dealings. If it's like they couldn't get him on one issue, they were going to come after him on another issue. And my whole thing is, whether you like Donald Trump or not, and I'm not a fan of Donald Trump, after a while, it starts to kind of seem like a witch hunt. All these people going after one person. If they can't get them on one issue, they try to get them on another issue. And it's funny because they're acting like, so Donald Trump is the only person who's had bad business dealings. We're going to get into a story about someone else's bad business dealings after this. But we're supposed to believe Donald Trump is the only one. We're supposed to believe Donald Trump's the only one who cheated on his wife, the only president. Give me a break, man. It's hilarious to me, but I don't think that this is doing what they think it's going to do. I think this is not helping the Democratic Party. I think it's only helping Donald Trump by making him look like more of a martyr, so to speak. And I think this is only weakening Joe Biden's position more and more.
We can't let it happen. Our country is going to hell, and they come after Donald Trump, weaponizing the Justice Department, weaponizing the FBI. We can't let this continue to go on because it's ripping our country to shreds. We have such big problems, and this shouldn't be one of them. It's a hoax. The whole thing is a hoax, just like Russia, just like the fake dossier was a hoax. You saw the Durham report. You saw the Mueller report. It was all a big hoax. You had 2 impeachments, and they lost and we won. And we had tremendous support. But that was a hoax and a scam. And now they're doing it again. It's just a continuation, 7 years, even after I'm out. But it's called election interference. They're trying to destroy a reputation so they can win an election. That's just as bad as doing any of the other things that have been done over the last number of years, and especially during the 2020 election. So I just want to tell you, I'm an innocent man. I did nothing wrong. And we will fight this out just like we've been fighting for 7 years. It would be wonderful if we could devote our full time to making America great again. And that's exactly what we did. But now, again, our country is in decline. We're a failing nation. And this is what they do. I'm an innocent man. We will prove that again. 7 years of proving it. And here we go again. Very unfair. But that's the way it is. I just want to thank everybody. We are doing something very special for our country. We're putting America first. I always put America first. And that's why we were in a position. Unfortunately, that position is no longer valid because they've done such a poor job. But we're in a position where we're going to make America great again. I'm innocent, and we will prove that very, very soundly and hopefully very quickly. Thank you very much.
Well, that was what Donald Trump said there yesterday. Again, I don't know if I would call Donald Trump innocent. I do question the timing of all of this. That is what he said yesterday, but apparently 2 of his lawyers have decided to already resign. Breaking news, 2 of Trump's lawyers resigned. Jim Trusty, I guess Jim is not so trusting. Jim Trusty and John Rowley have resigned following the news of Trump's indictment, which is set to take place in Miami on Tuesday. This is not the first time Trump's attorneys have left his side. Tim Politor, Michael Cohen, and many others have resigned from aiding Trump in many legal battles. Does this show a lack of confidence from Trump's team in being acquitted of all charges? Listen to this.
Former President Donald Trump's lawyers have resigned following his indictment on federal charges relating to classified documents. Jim Trusty and John Rowley have just released this joint statement. They say, "This morning we tendered our resignations as counsel to President Trump, and we will no longer represent him on either the indicted case or the January the 6th investigation. It has been an honor to have spent the last year defending him, and we know he will be vindicated in his battle against the Biden administration's partisan weaponization of the American justice system." Now that the case has been filed in Miami, this is a logical moment for us to step aside and let others carry the cases through to completion. We have no plans to hold media appearances that address our withdrawals or any other confidential communications we've had with the president or his legal team.
So that happened. So the lawyers are out. I don't know if maybe in their eyes they saw if this was a game of Monopoly, maybe they felt like Trump was going straight to jail and he would not be able to pass go. I don't think that Trump is going to jail, but it seems like maybe that's what they were afraid like would happen. Now, they did release the federal indictment against Trump. It has just been unsealed, and I just want to show you what this looks like. By the way, you guys should follow this account, Disclose TV. Like, they have breaking news like on the dime, right? Like just right on the dime. Anywho, this is that unsealed document here. So it says U.S. versus Donald Trump and Waltine Nuta. So I'm not going to read this entire thing because it's mad long, but I'm just going to skim through so you can get an idea. He had lawful access to the most sensitive classified documents and national security defense information gathered and owned by the U.S., including information from agencies that compromise the U.S. intelligence community and the United States Department of Defense. Gathered newspapers, press clippings, letters, notes, cards, photographs, documents. Another thing that's mentioned here is that he stored in his boxes information regarding defense and weapon capabilities of both the U.S. and foreign countries, U.S. nuclear programs, potential vulnerabilities of the United States and its allies to military attack, and plans for possible retaliation in response to a foreign attack. The authorized disclosure of these classified documents could be put at risk, yada, yada. He departed from the White House January 20th. It says Trump caused scores of boxes, which many of which contain classified documents, to be transported to Mar-a-Lago in Florida. Goes on to say Mar-a-Lago is an active social club. It says that Mar-a-Lago was not an authorized location for storage and possession of classified documents. So you get the hint here. Like I said, I'm not reading all of this because it's like mad long. But anywho, the FBI opened up the investigation, and you can see a couple of things that they mentioned here, that Waltine Nuta was apparently directed to move boxes of documents to conceal them from Trump's attorney, the FBI, and the grand jury. So there's a lot of information here. Eric, if you want, you can put the link to this in the chat so people can look over this on their own time, because it's just so much information. But yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot. But what's really interesting, though, is I want to talk about the hypocrisy, because it was just a couple months ago I reported that Joe Biden actually was in trouble for possessing classified documents, some of which were apparently in his garage. Some were at another location. This goes back to the time when Joe Biden was vice president under the Obama presidency. So these weren't classified documents from his current position as president of the United States. These were documents that he apparently had in his possession going back to his time of being vice president under Barack Obama. But there seemed to be no push to investigate Joe Biden in reference to his classified documents. Joe Biden was able to stand in front of a press conference and just say, there was a couple of documents in my garage. They are free to go get them, and basically barely get any real pushback and fire there from liberal media. That's just a reality of the situation. So there is hypocrisy. Obviously, Donald Trump is not the sitting president. Joe Biden is. But you have to start to wonder and ask these questions. When is it okay to hold people accountable? Is it okay to hold people accountable when they are no longer in a position of power? Shouldn't we try to hold people accountable regardless of the position that they are in, whether it's a powerful position or not? Because what we have come to see, at least in this country, is that depending on your position, depending on your networks, depending on your income, chances are you are less likely to be held accountable if you are on the greater side of that. Whereas for those who are poor, those who do not have resources, they don't have the network connections, are more likely to go straight to jail. So when people talk about this particular incident with Donald Trump and the classified documents, I just want to remind you, Joe Biden has classified documents as well. There's a lot of hypocrisy that's going around. And I think if you're going to blame Donald Trump, you need to blame Joe Biden too. Just keeping it real. And question the timing. Always question the timing. Thank you for the super chat, Carrie. Jesus was a socialist and definitely not globalist or motorist. Okay. Was far from emotionless and never ever chauvinist. Few seem to know this, even less want to grow from this, even though we're broke from this. Is this from a song? It sounds like a song. Thank you for the super chat, Aberdeen71. And thank you, Stephen R. Democrats said for a decade, they did not want to do aggressive things to go after Republicans that would get things done for the people. They did not want to set a precedence. That was a lie. That's right. Mari Povich would say the lie detector test determined that was a lie.